All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Cheryl Peterson, the Vice President for Nursing Programs at the American Nurses Association. And it is my privilege to welcome you to today's webinar, Service to Humanity, the Life of Mary Eliza Mahoney. And here to start us off is ANA's President, Dr. Jennifer Mensick Kennedy.
Thank you, Cheryl, and welcome to all in attendance for ANA's inaugural Mary Eliza Mahoney webinar. This evening's webinar is part of ANA's ongoing effort to reflect on racism in nursing and on ANA's past and future as a professional association. On June 11th, 2022, the ANA Membership Assembly, the governing and official voting body of ANA, took historic action to begin a journey of racial reckoning by unanimously voting yes to adopt the ANA Racial Reckoning Statement. This statement is a meaningful first step for the association to acknowledge its own past actions that have negatively impacted nurses of color and perpetuated systemic racism. As part of its racial reckoning efforts, ANA, along with the National Black Nurses Association, the National Association of Hispanic Nurses, and the National Coalition of Ethnic Minority Nurses Association, serves as a co-lead for the National Commission to Address Racism in Nursing. ANA also provides the staff infrastructure to support the commission. I am pleased to note that the 2023-2024 commission launched in April to continue the important work to address racism in nursing. On September 10th, 2021, the ANA Board of Directors acted to commemorate the contributions of Mary Eliza Mahoney annually on her birthday, May 7th. This action was taken at the recommendations of Dr. Vivienne Pierce McDaniel and the Virginia Nurses Association. As part of this recognition, ANA launched this lecture series. Over the next several years, ANA will host a webinar exploring the contributions and characteristics of Mary Eliza Mahoney as they are reflected in contemporary nursing practice. Now, I am pleased to introduce our speaker, Dr. Vivienne Pierce McDaniel, a transformational leader whose notable nursing career includes roles in nursing practice, leadership, and healthcare administration. She is an adjunct professor who teaches doctoral courses. She is also an academic diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant for James Madison University and Sentinel U, a healthcare simulation and learning innovations product. Vivienne holds bachelor and master's degrees from American Sentinel University and a doctor of nursing practice from Walden University. She is a fellow of the 2021 American Association of Colleges of Nursing Inaugural Diversity Leadership Institute and is currently an AACN Diversity Leadership Institute consultant and mentor. Vivienne is actively involved in healthcare policy and advocating at the local, state, and federal level. Her policy and advocacy efforts center around integrating diversity, equity, and inclusion in every aspect of healthcare and nursing education, as well as achieving equity across the continuum of healthcare. She is a Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion champion and serves on several task force, committees, and boards. She is the president of the Central Virginia chapter of the National Black Nurses Association and serves as the chair of the Virginia Nurses Association DEI Council and the Virginia Nurses Foundation Council Board of Trustees as their DEI ambassador. Vivienne is the recipient of the 2022 American Nurses Association Nurse Exemplars Leadership and Ethics Award. She is a DEI podcast co-host, has authored numerous publications, is a highly sought-after national presenter, and considered a nurse historian among her peers. Dr. Pierce McDaniel, thank you for joining us today. Dr. Pierce McDaniel, you're muted.
I was saying, let me not do that. And what did I do? Exactly that. Okay. Can you see my presentation? Are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
And
So sorry. I want to wish everyone, I said thank you very much first for that warm welcome. I appreciate it. And I want to wish everyone a happy Nurses Week and Nurses Month. I want to talk to you about Mary Eliza Mahoney. And I want you to know that Mary Eliza Mahoney is no stranger to the American Nurses Association. You will learn why I say that as I discuss more about her life. And I am so appreciative to the American Nurses Association for obliging me in 2021 when I submitted the proposal to urge them to honor Mary Mahoney during her birthday, as her birthday kicks off the start of Nurses Week. So again, thank you very much, American Nurses Association. And we are not here today to discredit the work of Florence Nightingale, as her contributions to nursing are vast and very well known and well celebrated in America as well as abroad. I'm here to pay homage to a woman that I feel did more than simply pave the way for nurses of color. She was a person of color, a Black person, the daughter of freed slaves. And Mary Mahoney laid the foundation and set our trajectory on the journey towards racial reconciliation. I would not be able to build on my knowledge if I did not have or know some of the nurses who provided the history, or should I say know of. One of the persons is Helen S. Miller, which I owe the greatest debt to, as well as Althea Davis and historian Darlene Clark-Hine. Why Mary Mahoney? A lot of people ask me this question, why Mary Eliza Mahoney? I am encountered by people who ask me all the time. They say, you wear her on your watch, her face on your watch. What is your obsession with Mary Mahoney? And after digesting the question and pondering the intestinal fortitude it must have taken for them to even ask me the question, I normally respond because representation is, it does matter. It's very important. We cannot wait until 1 month out of a year to celebrate those who have been disenfranchised. And in a world where your voice can easily be silenced, your image obscured, and your mere existence diminished because of how you are identified by others or because of the hue of your skin, we will always, or at least I will, always elevate those who were the first, such as the first female astronaut, Sally Ride, to the first African-American woman to serve as Justice of the United States, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Also, I just think about the fact that Mary Mahoney, Mary Eliza is what I call her most of the time, that she made it into nursing school and her entry would probably have been refused by most nursing school, by all nursing schools during her time, and by most hospitals, but she made it through. And I'm currently writing a book called Right Place, Right Time, and Right Person. And that's what I think about when I think about Mary Mahoney. So I will be honoring her through the work of Helen S. Miller. I will be looking through her lens and her research as I carry us through a moment with Mary. Mary lived a very personal life. It was very private, and there is not a lot of information about her that exists. Some of it was lost in a flood that occurred in Boston, but we don't have a lot of images or a lot of information. She was born on May 7th, 1845, while some articles suggest that it was April 16th, 1845. Most documents say May 7th. Vital statistics in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts say that she was born in Boston in 1845. Her parents' names were Charles and Mary Jane Stewart Mahoney, and they lived on 31 Westminster Street in Roxbury, which I get excited because when I lived in Boston, I lived very close to there. And it is said that her parents left North Carolina as freed slaves and moved because they did not like the harsh treatment that was occurring in North Carolina. So also her siblings were Helen and Louise, and I'm sorry, Ellen and Louise. And Louise, it is said that she passed as a young girl. She died when she was young. And they had one brother, and some of the documents say that his name is Frank, and then there are others that say Charles. I do know when I was looking up things and when I was researching, I did see on a census Charles, but I never saw Frank. And in this picture is her great-grandnephew. And if you look over to the left, I believe it's still a left, you'll see a lady and a man that are standing there. And that's the man is her great-grandnephew, and the lady is his wife, Dorothy. And then if you look over to the right, that is Clara Saunders, that is Mary Eliza Mahoney's niece. And the thing that I think about when I look at this is this lady looks a lot like a relative of mine named Clara Saunders. So those are her descendants, and I will talk a little bit later about her significant other. So you may be wondering why I have this picture of this flower with this butterfly on it. Well, this particular plant is the plant that I named after Mary Eliza Mahoney. So I will let you look at this beautiful butterfly that I captured on the plant while I tell you a few facts about Mary Eliza Mahoney. Some things you may know and some things you may not know. So Mary was very quiet. She had a quiet demeanor, and no one can ever say that about me. I speak loudly most of the time. It's not intentional. And she was very active in helping people. Throughout her life, she was very active. And she was, there was controversy about Mary's mom because Ancestry.com says her mom was born in Canada. Mary loved church and she loved her family. She was very religious. But consider that the mere hue of her skin and her assigned race predetermined her destiny, but for her determination. She dressed in long calico skirts. Those were the dresses of the day. She loved to cook. And it's said by her great-grandnephew that she was an excellent cook. Her favorite food was plum pudding. And people would come from all over just to purchase or to get this plum pudding from her. She never married. So what the caption there about the significant other, she never married. And also, when I think about Mary Mahoney, it really concerns me because 10 years I was a nurse before I learned anything about Mary Mahoney. She was, I think I went back and looked in my nursing book, and there was one sentence about her. But as you all know, she was a pioneer who helped African American women to be accepted in the field of nursing. And we will talk about that again later. Another thing I wanted to share with you about her was, and I really should have this not in her personal, while I'm talking about her personal life, I should have this in her professional life. But one thing that she would not do, when she worked for a family, she would always eat alone, or sometimes the family members would ask her to eat with them, but she would eat alone because she did not want anybody to look at her as what they considered back then as the help. And so she, and you know, that those were people like the cooks and housekeepers. So she would eat alone. But imagine that I was born 112 years after she graduated. And the efforts that she was involved in back during her day are some of the same ones that I am doing with my advocacy work. And that is trying to dismantle racism and erase the stereotypes of African Americans. So this is a picture of Mary as a teenager. And as a teenager, she worked for prominent families in Massachusetts. Now, some people called her a nursemaid, but when I think of a nursemaid, I think of something else. But some of the people did call her that she was a maid, but that she was a nursemaid. But no one knows how old she is in this picture. She was brought up, again, like I said, in the church. She was very religious. And I just wanted to share this picture with you and also talk about that significant other. Her family stated that she created this hope chest after an engagement with a doctor. She was engaged to a physician and it was announced, but then he jilted her. And it is said that she remained bitter for several years. And perhaps when I look at her and I look at her facial expression, I wonder if that is why she's not smiling in most of her pictures. So the professional life of Mary Mahoney, of course, you know, her name has been connected with historically minoritized nurses since the beginning of the 20th century. And while her name may have been omitted or minimized in nursing books, those who knew her and those who found her worthy of memorialization ensured that she was not unknown, unsung, or forgotten. And that is why I do so much work around her life. And I hate to think that racism caused historians to overlook her significant contributions to nursing. And I think we are now finally seeing a lot about her more. So the New England Hospital for Women and Children, this is the hospital that was founded during an era where women were not able to vote even. And Dr. Marie Zakrzewska, I always butcher her name. That's why her name, most people called her Dr. Zak, but it's Zakrzewska. She was a doctor, and she and Edna Dow Cheney, which you will see on the next slide, they founded the New England Hospital for Women and Children, which opened in Boston in July 1st, 1862. These are the women that I believe influenced Mary Mahoney's life. Dr. Susan Dimmock was a doctor at that hospital that embraced diversity. Edna Cheney embraced diversity. And so did Dr. Maria Zock. Now, what I will say about her is that it was very important to her to have a hospital that catered to women, the health of women. And it is said that she was an aristocrat, but when it came to autonomy for women, that was a whole different story. And so I wanted to share that with you because these are the women that I believe accepted Mary Mahoney, even when she was past the age range for getting into the school. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Linda Richards, because Linda Richards is actually the first nurse to graduate from the same school that Mary Mahoney graduated from. And I can tell you again that I'm sure that it probably was somewhere in my textbook, but I do not remember learning about Linda Richards at either. I only learned about Florence Nightingale. So I wanted to ensure that others knew about Linda Richards. Mary Mahoney, when she applied for school and got in, there's a family member, family friend, Miss Hawley, and that family friend stated that, and I quote, Mary went to the hospital to work. She cooked, she washed, she scrubbed, and she got in. She said it was a woman doctor who wanted her there, and I'm still thinking that had to be Dr. Denmark. And another thing that she said was that that was the only influence that Mary had to get into that school. And Mary was accepted on her own merits. At school, the age cutoff was 31, and we all know that Mary was admitted at age 33. And I think about the fact that I started nursing school at 44. And I always say that 33 and 44 equals 77. And that 7 is my lucky number. And it's also Mary Mahoney's birthday, May 7th. So I like to mention that. Mary was enrolled in the school on March 23rd, 1878. But she was required to report to school 2 weeks prior for, it was a probationary period. And the mission at that time was that the applicant would be well and strong between the ages of 21 and 31, like I said before, and that they would have a good reputation as to character, and that they also would have a good disposition. So Mary was already breaking barriers at that time. Just look at these hours. I want you to look at this. The students had 16-hour days, 7 days a week. Night duty was required, and Mary actually worked the night shift. I'm hearing that those nurses slept on those wards. The last 4 of their months, the students had to prove themselves. You know, you had to prove your skills, competencies, and all of the different clinical areas that they worked in. And each nurse, and I say student, but they were called pupils. The students were only called the medical doctors that were enrolled in medical school. They called them students, but they called the nurses pupils. And Linda Richards actually made mention of how she did not like that they did that, because it seems as though they were diminishing the nurses. But Mary worked 16-hour days, and I had to total that up because I needed to see how many hours it looked, what it looked like in hours. So, and this was the 16-month program. Some accounts say that it was the 1 year, but this was the 16-month program. And of course, she received her diploma August 1st, 1879. I know that everyone in her family must have celebrated her, because this was just a wonderful time for them. I added this because I wanted you to see that there are a few discrepancies about the number of students that enrolled in the program. So, but I want to draw your attention to the fact that they found 13 people unsuitable for the program. And then they accepted for a trial period 18 people and only kept 9 of them. And then it says 3 received the diploma. But if you look at the middle document, this is from the 1879 annual report from the New England Hospital for Women and Children. And it says something different. It says 42 applicants. And then it has the names of 4 people here. And then if you go over to the class of 89, the one that's written out, that one has 6 people. And what I found in my research is that, and from reading Linda Richards' book, is that as the students would graduate, they would, because if you look at that document, you'll see May, you'll see August for Mahoney, and you'll see for Edwards, you'll see June. I think it has something to do with that because those other 3 people were in that class. So I'm really not sure. I have to do some more research on that one. I included this document because at the top under number 57 is Mary. This is Mary's handwriting. Mary signed this directory. And it's a directory that was it was on Boylston Street, I must say, in Boston. And it was right around the corner from where I lived when I moved back to Boston. And so only the best of the best could be in this directory. And Mary was the only, you'll see she had, there's colored up here and it's underlined. And one of the families that Mary worked for, the name of the family was the Arms family. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. It's Armes, but Mr. Arms said that he owed his life to that dear soul. And he was talking about Mary Eliza Mahoney. She gained a notable reputation for quality nursing. And she worked in various locations, Washington, D.C., New York, and of course in Boston. Mary Eliza Mahoney's mantra was work more and better the coming year than the previous year. This picture is from the first convention of the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses, which took place in 1909 in Boston. And Mary Mahoney was one of the co-founders. Some accounts say co-founder, and other accounts say that she worked with them when they were organizing, and they made her their chaplain. And if you look over to the right, the front row, and you see the 2 people, one person in the middle is in white. Move over to the next 2 people that are in white and look up in the middle, and there you see Mary Mahoney standing about 5 feet and weighing probably about 98 pounds. She had a very small frame. So I wanted you to see that picture, and I love this picture because it is from an original picture. In this picture, Mary Mahoney is seated in the middle. And I wanted to include this picture because these are some women that were activists and they were involved in the suffrage movement, as was Mary. Now, she's not in that second picture with those women that are standing all together. That is her seated in the darker clothing amongst those Red Cross African American nurses. 1920, Mary voted for the first time. It was after the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified. So she was 76 years old. And I had the pleasure of having a conversation about this with Congressman John Lewis, because you know him and his voting rights. So we talked about this. Here lies our dearly beloved Mary Eliza Mahoney. She became ill, and when she became ill, it is said that her friends all gathered around her, and even some of the people that she had provided care for, they gathered around her, and they took care of her. She was not financially stable at that time, and so therefore they took care of her. And I would hope that all of us will have those type of acts of kindness and humility if we should need people. On January the 4th, 1926, Mary Mahoney died at 11:45 a.m. from carcinoma of the left breast with metastasis. That's what the report says, at the age of 80. And she died at the same hospital where she was, where she trained. And one of her sister was her nearest relative. That's who she listed. And she also listed that Mr. Ames, that Mr. Arms person that I told you about. And he lived in Brookline, and Brookline, Massachusetts. And I used to work in Brookline. So, you know, there weren't a lot of people of color in Brookline unless you were really famous at that time. And on her headstone, in the other picture, that's the back side of her headstone, and that's an etching of the American Nurses Association award, the Mary Mahoney Award, and that is the one that was started when she was with the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses. In August 73, due to the efforts mostly of Helen Miller, the ANA and Chi Eta Phi Sorority Inc. restored Mahoney's grave, and they restored the site, and Mahoney's family members were present, and they did a unveiling ceremony, and she earned the title Architect of Integration and Equality. And in this they did a pilgrimage in 1984 to the restored grave of Mary Eliza Mahoney. I think it was in September, maybe September the 1st, 1984, and it was during the Labor Day weekend. I do remember that. And she was joined by people from all across the nation, all across the United States. And her family members were there. And I'm actually planning something like a pilgrimage to her graveside next year, because I think that we all need to go and visit her there. These are just some pictures of some different facilities that do bear her name. So I wanted to share that with you. And Mary was inducted into the ANA Hall of Fame along with Martha Franklin and Ada Bell Samuels Toms. And a lot of people ask me, why did it take so long? Well, it's because that's when they started inducting people. So I couldn't leave without showing you that one. And then I wanted to talk to you just a wee bit about what Congress has done. The 109th Congress did try to get her honored. And I think you remember Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. She was the first Congresswoman, the first nurse to become a Congresswoman. And she sponsored a bill to recognize Mary Eliza Mahoney and other nurses contributed to her efforts. And now in present day, Congresswoman Cori Bush is trying to also have her recognized, as she should be. And I wanted to include this National Commission to Address Racism in Nursing because Mary Mahoney, her legacy lives on in the work of all of us. So it also lives on in the work of the National Commission to Address Racism in Nursing. Her spirit lives in all of us. The spirit of advocacy, determination, agency, humility, empathy, trailblazing, and generosity. And here I wanted to show you, I don't know where this red is coming from, but I'm going to show you that this sits on my desk. And I have commissioned someone to do a portrait for me. This portrait that I'm showing you is from Larry Johnson, and it captures the quiet demeanor, the quiet spirit of Mary Mahoney. It is said that, again, she was truly devoted to nursing, citizenship, interpersonal relationships, civic affairs. So we must continue to honor her. Now, think about what it would be if we had 1 million Mary Mahoneys in nursing. And as you commemorate Mary Mahoney, also think about things that you can do, because it doesn't have to be something tangible. Just think about things that you can do that people will look at you and say, she reminds me of that Mary Eliza Mahoney. This stamp, I created this stamp because we are trying to get Mary Mahoney on a postage stamp. Helen S. Miller submitted a letter a while ago. I'll show you that. She submitted a letter of support trying to get the stamp for Mary Mahoney a while ago, along with the American Nurses Association, Chi Eta Phi. So trying to get that stamp, we really need you to write to your legislators and to the stamp committee and get this stamp, get us a Mary Mahoney stamp. And thanks to Dr. Vernell DeWitty, I have a picture of the medal that she provided. And this medal is the medal that she received as one of the awardees. And you can see the other awardees that are presented here. And so I hope that we will be able to get this replica of the original award, this medal. And I think ANA is working on trying to do that. And I'm going to introduce you to some awardees. But before I do that, I would like to let the words of the late, great John Lewis marinate, and I'm going to share my sound. And I hope the next voice that you will hear will be that of John Lewis.
My philosophy is very simple. When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, That's something. Do something. Get in trouble. Good trouble. Necessary trouble.
We must get into good trouble and necessary trouble. So now I come to the best part of this program. We are going to hear from some of the awardees, and they're going to talk to you a little bit about what it was like when they received the Mary Mahoney Award, the significance of the Mary Mahoney Award. And we have with us Barbara Nichols, C. Alicia Georges, Vernell DeWitty, and Johnny Hamilton. I will say Dr. Nichols, Dr. Georges, Dr. DeWitty, and Dr. Hamilton. First, we are going to hear from Dr. Alicia Georges because she was unable to attend because she's been awarded something at Seton Hall tonight, I think, and she may have to speak. So here we go. And now I would like to welcome Dr. Catherine Alicia Georges to share a Mary Mahoney moment or an action, actually, that she feel inspired her colleagues to nominate her for the Mary Mahoney Award. Take it away, Dr. Georges.
Dr. McDaniel, thank you so very much for having me participate in this event. And I thank the American Nurses Association. I hope you can see my pin, which I got in 1998 when Dr. Beverly Malone was the president of the American Nurses Association. My colleagues in New York State nominated me for the 1998 Mary Eliza Mahoney Award because of the work, my consistent work, before I was president of the National Black Nurses Association and when I was president of the National Black Nurses Association, and thereafter, in assuring that we opened the doors for persons of color to participate in baccalaureate and associate degree and other nursing programs in this country. My colleagues in New York nominated me because in 1998, I was instrumental in making sure that we reached out to communities and to groups where students had not been a large number in our organization. It happened through my work again with the National Black Nurses, and I cannot forget my chapter, the New York Black Nurses Association, that we worked with to make sure that we developed students and made sure we assured students success in nursing programs. I understand, what Mary Mahoney, and I remind people that Mary Mahoney was not 18 when she went to nursing school. And so we need to appreciate the fact that many of our students coming into nursing are not the traditional age of nursing students, but many of them around the age of Mary Mahoney when she first entered the profession of nursing. I admired this woman's stamina, her resilience. She knew that she was going to succeed regardless of the challenges that she faced in a very racist society. Not much has changed, we've seen over the years. A lot of challenges have been met, but we still have a long way to go. And I hope in the name of Mary Eliza Mahoney, that brave nurse who became the first Black professional nurse in this country, that we all take pride in knowing what she did for people like me who have succeeded in nursing today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Georges, for sharing those words with us. So now I will call on those persons who were awarded the Mary Mahoney Award. And I will start with Barbara Nichols. Would you please unmute yourself and I will mute myself.
Can you hear me?
I can. Take
Yeah.
it away.
Yes, thank you. A couple of things. I'm a graduate from Massachusetts Memorial Hospital in Boston, which is about 8 miles from where Mary went to school. And I graduated in 1959. And in my School of Nursing under professional issues, we were told about Mary and that she was a graduate and a leader for integration in nursing. And our dean of the school felt it was ridiculous if you didn't understand nursing history and those who have been involved. And so she was adamant that Mary's contemporaries were Lavinia Dock, who was instrumental in helping with the Henry Street settlement, with Isabel Hampton Robb and Mary Adelaide Nutting, who took nursing into higher education. And Robb in particular, who was instrumental in helping to found ANA, NLN, and ICN. And they were all Mary's contemporaries. You also have to remember that Florence Nightingale, I think, died around 1910, was a good friend with Isabel Hampton Robb and Mary Adelaide Nutting as they took nursing into Columbia University. So she was around and surrounded by women activists, those dedicated to gender equality, the suffragette movement, even though they didn't let Black in the beginning, but those were her contemporaries. And so, as you know, she helped to co-found the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses. Now, they named and created the award after Mary because during the life of the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses and Mary's history, schools of nursing was segregated. And the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses was all about integration. And when the Rich Report came out in 1948, which said we got too many nursing organizations, we need to come down from 50 to 2, the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses, in the interest of unity and in the spirit to foster integration and to do away with segregation, disbanded and asked the American Nurses Association if it would carry on giving the Mary Mahoney Award. So I want to remind people that in the beginning, the award was given for integration into nursing. And the first convention that I went to, well, maybe it wasn't the first, but the 1962 convention that I went to, the dean of the School of Nursing, who was white, got the Mary Mahoney Award for Indiana being one of the colleges of nursing that integrated. Over the years, the award has taken on a diversity and an equity orientation. I'm not saying that's inappropriate in terms of keeping up with the times, but the thing to remember, the award is not just for Blacks. It's for anyone who is involved in equity, gender equity, doing away with segregation, and making healthcare more equitable. Sometimes I think we forget that. I'm very proud to be a Mary Mahoney Award winner, but I think it would be interesting to look back to see in nursing's history, in the ANA history, how many folks other than Blacks have received the award. Because I do know the year that I went to an ANA convention, I'm not sure what year now, the Mary Mahoney Award winner was white, the dean of the School of Nursing in Indiana, who was one of the first collegiate schools to integrate. So I think Mary's sustained contribution was her advocacy and having friends that were humanitarians and advocates. I mean, think about it. She was friends with Lavinia Dock, who was a feminist and a socialist, and helped with the Henry Street settlement, and was one of the early editors of the American Journal of Nursing, and with Isabel Hampton Robb and Marianne Lyne Nutting, who were instrumental in the Bellevue School of Nursing, the Johns Hopkins Schools of Nursing, and Robb in particular helped form the NLN, the ANA, and the International Council of Nurses. So her contemporaries were doers. They created a larger space for nursing, a larger worldview, a view that says, not only are we nurses, but we are humanitarians, and we are concerned about equity, and we respect we respect and hold on to our place to be in this space. So in my School of Nursing, we learned about Mary, and we learned also about Ida B. Wells, who was not a nurse, but she was significant in writing about the lynchings that occurred. So I don't know whether that was usual or unusual, but in my School of Nursing in the 50s, we were taught about the contributions of Black nurses. And at that time, in 1959, when I graduated, the Southern states did not accept nurses at the state level. At that time, when you joined ANA, you joined at all three levels: the district, the state, and the national. And the district and the state nurses associations in the South did not admit Black nurses. ANA would admit nurses at the national level from the Southern states. And the last Southern state to admit nurses at the state and district level was Mississippi, I think about in 1966. So Mary's contribution was as an activist, as a humanitarian, in being concerned about gender equity, but more importantly, she was an excellent clinician. And so she reminds us that part of leadership is having mastery of your area, and you have both knowledge and skill that you can use to present your view. And that's what made her incredible. So I'm very honored to have received the Mary Mahoney Award, and I'm more than delighted that ANA is honoring her.
Thank you so much. And I am honored that you, no one knows that I didn't give you a lot of time when I invited you here. So I'm just grateful to have you here with us. Thank you so much for sharing all of that information and for letting people know, because a lot of us don't know. So thank you so much. I am going to move on now to Dr. DeWitty. Dr. DeWitty, can you unmute yourself, please?
I certainly will. And let me begin by thanking ANA for hosting this session to recognize Mary Eliza Mahoney, and also for the work that the organization has taken on in relation to racism in nursing. I had the opportunity and privilege to serve as one of the commissioners on the commission to address racism in nursing. And it was a very eye-opening and rewarding experience for me to do so. When I received the Mary Mahoney Award in 2014, It was a result of the work that I had done in terms of increasing the diversity in the nursing workforce. I had directed the Robert Wood Johnson New Careers in Nursing Scholarship Program. That was a collaboration between the American Association of Colleges of Nursing and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And over the 8 years with this $44 million program, we were able to award more than 3,500 scholarships to accelerated degree nursing students, and that produced 27 diverse nurses from 130 schools in 41 states. While we did this work, we made sure that we built in strategies that would ensure the success of the students in terms of graduating and completing their programs. When I think about Mary Mahoney, and I too learned about her when I was in nursing school. I am a graduate of an HBCU, Dillard University in New Orleans. Our dean was from Boston. And in our introduction to nursing history, we learned of all the leaders. And then again, when we took our closing leadership in nursing course, we were reminded of those leaders. And it was made very clear that we were expected to assume our roles in leadership as nurses. So I'm very thankful for all of the persons that I'm sharing this platform with this evening. And it is a privilege to be included among your ranks. However, I want to pause here and think about where we are now. I think history is absolutely essential that we understand it, because it provides the foundation of understanding our present and then forging the pathway into the future. And right now, our profession really is facing some headwinds. Over the last several weeks, a number of studies have come forward. The first was the data from the National Council of State Boards of Nursing in their 2022 nursing survey, reported that some 100,000 nurses had left the profession during the pandemic and up to now. They also indicated that based on their research, more than 600,000 nurses had indicated that they would be too leaving the profession by 2025. So now some researchers are projecting that we may have a gap of anywhere from 200,000 to 400,000 nurses as we look into the future, as a time when we have an aging population, a more diverse population, and the needs of providing health care are even greater. Another study, another news release was released on May 2nd by AACN as a result of their annual survey of nursing schools. And for the first time in 20 years, enrollment in baccalaureate programs had decreased by 1.4%, representing 3,500 fewer nursing students being enrolled. And when we think about what the needs are moving forward, the need for a more diverse workforce with the capacity, the skills to provide care for an increasing diverse population, the need for care for an aging population as many more baby boomers are beginning to retire, we must think about what is necessary for our profession to move forward to the challenges. In addition to what's going on with the numbers in our profession, over the past several months, 34 states have introduced legislation that is anti-DEI. And I don't know if you have this on your radar, but if you look at the Chronicle for Higher Education, they are tracking what's going on in these states. 34 states represent 66% of the states in the USA. And what will this do? But we've been here before. When you think about the decision that we're all awaiting that will come from the Supreme Court regarding holistic admissions, because once again, that is before the courts, and we're expecting that decision to come. And what will it do for our ability to use a more holistic admissions process into nursing schools? So we need transformational leadership. We need leaders who are able to be out front and make the necessary changes that are necessary at this point in time. We have tremendous challenges that lie before us, and using and reflecting on those who came before should give us the hope, the courage, and the fortitude to continue to advance, to advocate for more diverse workforce, and also to increase health equity for all citizens as we continue and have to do that to represent our profession. I thank you once again for an opportunity to share my perspectives of the past as well as the present and the future.
Thank you so much, Dr. DeWitty. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am going to turn this back over now. I did want to say something. I'm not sure if someone else will mention this, but I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Johnny Hamilton, and then I will come back to talk to you later. Dr. Hamilton.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Actually, I just want to start off saying that I am the proud recipient of the Mary Mahoney Award for 2022. My ANA Michigan, the colleagues here in Michigan nominated me basically because I am an advocate. I am always in Lansing, always writing letters, always doing whatever, because that is what I think needs to be done. I am a preceptor for nurses, because I think nurses need to see how it's done. They need to know that people have getting through the programs that they have. It's not easy, but there are people who are there to help you. So that's what I've done. I precept. I just do review for the NCLEX along with some other nurses here in Detroit. So for me, I think as Mary Mahoney, I was 30 when I entered nursing program at Providence Hospital School of Nursing, and one of 6 African-American nurses who were in that class. And of the 6, 4 of us graduated. So I kind of think that I'm kind of drawn to her as a person, because I can see what she was about as far as taking care of people, having a initiative to assist and to persevere through what I know had to be more difficult than when I was in nursing school at the time that she went. I am so pleased and proud to be a part of all of the women who have received the Mary Mahoney Award, and a lot of them I know personally. And it is with great pleasure that I belong to this now elite club of Mary Mahoney Nurse Award winners. I am also, and I remember though, one of the first things when I was in Providence Hospital School of Nursing, there were petitions to get a stamp for Mary Eliza Mahoney. One of my instructors, Dr. Olivia D'Souza, first introduced me to that project. It has been going on now for the last 50 years, because I've been a nurse now for 50 years. So, and actually when I won the award, I thought, you know what, there's something that I need to do. I need to make sure that this stamp comes to fruition. So I called some of my colleagues, presidents of the American Nurses Association, then Dr. Ernest Grant, the president of Chi Phi Sorority Incorporated, Dr. Sarah Killian, the president of the National Black Nurses Association, Dr. Martha Dawson, and 3 members from Mary Mahoney organizations from Detroit and Seattle. And I said, we need to do something. I said, we started last year. We did a lot of research with the Stamp Commission. we found out that probably some of our efforts were not looked at because you can only apply every 3 years. Our last application was in 2020. So we said in 2023, we're going to have a concerted effort. So the committee worked, they talked to legislators, they got support letters from nursing organizations, from legislators, from everyone that they could think of. Those letters were put out and asked for them to, on May 1st, when the committee sent their request in, that every nurse that we could think about sent in a support letter. Organizations did, the Hispanic nurses, the Philippine nurses, all of them sent in letters on May 1st, but it's not too late. This is still the week that they're going to look at those letters. So if you haven't sent one, please do. I think Vivienne has everybody that's on this call. She can send you a copy of the letter and the address. It needs to go to the Stamp Commission in Washington, D.C. This is something that I'm hoping for this year we will be able to say, yes, we have the stamp. They will review it. They always say it's actually looked at based on history and based on the number of the actual interest in having the stamp. So that's why we want to have a lot of interest. I was hoping that I'm not sure how many stamps were mailed, but we got a message that they wanted us to stop sending letters, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted them to have lots and lots of letters. So for me, that's one of my goals that has been for me. So I'm hoping that it comes to fruition in 2023. I am very thankful and grateful for all the people who were on the committee. Dr. McDaniel was on the committee with us as well. And I did see a couple of other people. Dr. Sarah Killian was on the call. So they have been really helpful getting us where we need to be. So thank you very much for your time. And that's where I am right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. I am so happy. I'm telling you, I gave them no time. I think I probably reached out to them just a few days ago, but I want to turn things over, and hopefully we are going to hear that this is a lecture series and that this is not the end. We will be doing this again. Thank you so much for having me, ANA. And I am signing, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you so much. This is Cheryl Peterson again. So thank you everyone for your comments and your presentations. Now we would like to open up the virtual room to all the participants for comments and questions on the legacy and impact of Mary Eliza Mahoney. In Zoom, you can raise your hand by hovering over the bottom of the screen and click on reactions. You should be able to raise your hand from there. When you are recognized, you can unmute yourself and make your comment. Please do keep your comments short so that we can maximize our remaining time together. In addition, you can post comments in the chat, and ANA staff Ruth Francis will put some of those comments in the room. So with that, I'm going to ask Sarah to take us to gallery view. And I don't know if Sarah Caldwell, are you still on the call? You had your hand up earlier. If you are, can you unmute yourself? Or if anyone else has a comment or a question. Petra, please unmute yourself.
Hello, colleagues and friends. I have a question. I noticed the previous speaker, she has some beautiful memorabilia. Is there a place or online or somewhere where one might be able to purchase Mary Mahoney memorabilia?
For asking that question, Petra. Unfortunately, no. It's something that I have entertained. The little spending, the little thing that spins on the pedestal that I showed, that is something that I created And have you gone to those places where they do these etchings? If you have, you can take any picture and someone will do it for you. I got this one when I was on a cruise. I was on a cruise, and the last day of my cruise, I saw it and it just popped in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see if they will do one for me with Mary Eliza Mahoney on it. And I was looking for the little keychain that came with it, because I also have a keychain that lights up. But I just had it made, the idea came to me. But I definitely think that I'm going to be talking to Dr. Hamilton, and we need to get together and figure out how we can do some of this work. Yes, and have some available for everyone to be able to order. So yes,
Thank you.
I didn't do it at Things to Remember, but yes, they can do it. But just remember, some people will not do it. I don't know why. I just know that other people have tried to do it and they weren't able to get it done. But yeah, try to see if you can get it done. I forgot how much I paid for it, but it was not very expensive. But every other place that I have tried to get it done, they charge too much. I did get one for Dr. Hamilton that I have to find Dr. Hamilton, because it's stored somewhere in my things when I packed up, because she was the first person that I knew who got the award. We were together the night that she got the award. So I had one made for her.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Aaron King.
Hi, I'm sorry. I didn't have a question. I just had a comment. I just wanted to thank ANA and Dr. McDaniel and all the presenters for such an amazing event. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Other comments? If not, Vivienne, I know you had a couple of questions that you thought you would pose to and I see Dr. Killian. I just want to acknowledge Dr. Killian, who is the national president of Chi Eta Phi Sorority International, Inc. So wonderful to see you, Dr. Killian. And Vivienne?
I wore green just in case she was here. Dr. Killian. My question, and thank you also, Aaron. You know, you're very special to me. Thank you. One question that I wanted to ask was, there's a lot of talk about imposter syndrome. We hear a lot of talk about that. And when I think of imposter syndrome, it's a feeling that somehow I got to the place that I am without putting in the work. Now, I know I put in the work for this, because, I've been reading Helen S. Miller. I sleep with the book, okay? So, but sometimes, you have this imposter syndrome, or because somebody else sees something in you and you just don't feel that you have that yourself. I know one of the things that I thought about was when I got my degree in nursing. I started with an associate's degree. And then I went on to work in telemetry. And then I moved to a director of nursing position. And I felt like, how in the world, after working on the floor for 1 year, am I a director of nursing? I know nothing. And then I remembered, of course, you're not an imposter. You were a healthcare practice administrator for physicians for 20 plus years. So you already had leadership skills. So that's why they probably gave you the job, or you earned the job. So my question is, and this question I will pose to Dr. DeWitty, have you ever had the feeling of being, that's this so-called imposter syndrome?
Vivienne, I think that all of us in nursing had an experience or a time when we felt, oh my goodness, I don't know that I can do this. And I think back to when I was a very young nurse. I had started working in the neonatal unit. That predated NICUs. And we just had a special nursery for all of the real premature babies. And I was asked to go and take this course at Cornell Hospital and come back and set up a NICU at Howard University Hospital. And I thought, wait a minute, I only have about 2 years of nursing experience under my belt, and you want me to do what? So I think that for all of us, we have had a time in our career when we may have felt that. Now, the takeaway from that is once you've had the experience and you've risen above that self-doubt, the next time you have that experience, you have something to rely upon because you can recognize, okay, I've seen this picture before and I know what I can do. And it's also good to have people around you who serve as your mentors, people that you can reach out to. And sometimes you just need someone to be your sounding board or to give you some feedback and to listen at you. And I think everyone needs to have, Oprah calls it her kitchen cabinet. Well, we all need to have our own kitchen cabinets. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for the response. And the reason why I asked that question was really because of Mary Mahoney. And I feel like she had to have felt like that when she first started out in nursing. So Cheryl.
Yeah, so I see Bernadette Correa. You can unmute yourself.
Yes. I didn't raise my hand for a question, but I did want to know more information regarding the Mary Mahoney stamp.
Yes, so this is Cheryl Peterson. We will send out an email to all of the registrants post the session today, and we will give you links to more information in the letter that was referenced, and we will share more information so that you can use that. So glad to hear folks are interested in engaging. Joan B.
Good evening, everyone. It's actually Joanne. So my question is, I'm a second career. Nursing is my second career. Prior to that, I was in engineering for about 20 years. So I've been a nurse for a little under 5 years now. And I'm starting to get more involved with different organizations. I'm currently a labor and delivery nurse. So I'm a part of AWAN. And I noticed with attending these conferences and different meetings, I'm not seeing a lot of the young people. I remember when I was an engineer, I was part of the National Society of Black Engineers. And one of the things we did, we had chapters in high school, collegiate, and alumni chapter where we try to bridge the gap with everyone. But I'm noticing in nursing, I'm not seeing that. So I guess my question is, how can we involve the younger people? And also me being in nursing for less than 5 years, how can I get more involved, especially on the leadership level? Like
Joanne, what a great question. And I see Anita L. James. She says, I'm young. So great question. You know, I think we're all looking for how do we engage across all of the generations, young to old, to bring what we need to bear onto the profession. I think it was Dr. DeWitty who was talking about some of the challenges that we face, and we need every registered nurse to be helping to engage with that. So we ask you to just find your home and engage with professional nursing and really step into a space of advocacy and help bring your colleagues along with you. You know, that's what's going to change and make the day for us. We do have and yeah, let me just reference Dr. Mensick Kennedy, ANA's president. Why don't you come off mute and talk a little bit about ANA's own board?
Yeah, I've been involved with membership assembly, and my state association was Arizona at the time since the 2000s, and I was one of the only young people for a very long time. And it's very exciting to see over the last 10, 15 plus years, so many more younger people. Of course, it's definitely not representative of the makeup of the nurses population, but we have several young board members who represent ANA nationally on the board. We also do have a new graduate position on the ANA board. So, it's really great to have all perspectives and encourage those who are graduates of less than 5 years to actually run for that position. Now, they typically are younger, so obviously a new grad could be a second career, so.
Right. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joanne. Any other questions?
I'd like to raise my hand, but I can't find where I do that.
Are you Norma?
Yes, I am Norma.
Yeah, go ahead, Norma.
Hi, I'm Norma Farris Taylor. I'm the president of the Bay Area Black Nurses Association. And I just really want to congratulate you for this session. McDaniel, thank you so much, and the American Nurses Association. It's just so interesting. I've been a nurse so many years, but it's just so funny that I hadn't really thought about who we're all connected with historically. I mean, it's just really amazing. And like very recently, things came up around the Army Nurse Corps and the nurses that served there. And it just brought to mind that I had a nurse who was in the Army. I need to research that. So basically what I'm trying to say is I really appreciate that you really looked into that history and you became curious, even though you had only seen maybe one line a long time ago, but you decided to inquire more. It makes a lot of difference. It makes a lot of difference to know our history. And I appreciate it so very much. And thank you so much, ANA, for the platform. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Norma. Really appreciate those comments.
Bye-bye now.
Sheila Caldwell, I see you posting. Did you want to make your comment? You had your hand up earlier. No? All right, I'm not going to. All right, Dr. Lorraine Hoover.
Let me find my unmute button. I just wanted to comment that, as a white person, the more I learn about the history of the prejudices and everything, it makes me madder and madder. That the diversity of nursing does not reflect the diversity of the population. And we have to do something about that because, like I live in Arizona and we have several Native American nations here, and they'd much rather be treated by a Navajo or a Hopi or whatever tribe. And the same goes with other cultures. So if we can work together to promote not only our history, to show that what's been accomplished, but then work to bring that diversity up.
Great, thank you so much. Agree. And I just want to also just acknowledge that I see Dr. Enid Williams on, who is part of the American Nurses Foundation. So good to have you with us. Thank you so much. And with that, I will say thank you for engaging with us. You will see on the screen next will be a list of resources. We will send you live links, but this is resources around the ANA Commission and our work around racial reckoning. And with that, I will turn the session back over to ANA President, Dr. Jennifer Mensick Kennedy.
Thank you. And please join me in thanking Vivienne Pierce McDaniel, Barbara Nichols, Vernell DeWitty, and Johnny Hamilton. We appreciate your sharing your wisdom and experiences with us this evening. As others have said, history is so important, and I could listen to the history for many more hours today, as I know most of you could as well. I would also like to thank all of you for joining us this evening to learn more about the legacy and impact of Mary Eliza Mahoney. And then I would mark your calendars. As we noted, this is an annual event. And so please mark your calendars for next year's webinar on May 7th, 2024. Thank you again and have a great evening.